your host, Sophia. Today is going to be another solo episode, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what my last week looked like. So, last week I hosted a 5-day workshop. So, each day was only 30 minutes. And what we really talked about was identity and who you're becoming, and stepping into the identity of that woman that you're becoming, that woman who's already living the life that you want to live, the woman who's already filled in all the gaps. She's making the money and she's doing all the things. So, becoming her, stepping into her. And that was what the 5 days was about. And each night we had homework, but by the fifth night, I started calling it love work because we love on ourselves so much that we wanted to get we wanted to do the assignments because that's what was starting to bring things up so that we could actually see what was happening. So on the first day, we really started talking about maybe you're not broken. And maybe it's just your story. Because the people who I work with the most are single professional women over 40. Some of them have kids, most of them don't. And a lot of them, and I'm going to include myself in this, want more. So on paper, your life looks amazing, but deep down, there's this lack of fulfillment. And there's still so much programming that's still inherent in who you're being. So, if you've been following me for a minute, you've heard me talk about slaying the good girl and good girl syndrome. And what that really comes down to are a set of behaviors that we really want to let go of, like perfectionism and people pleasing and being seen and not heard, because those things don't work out well for us at work for the most part, in relationship, whether it's romantic relationship or in our families, because everybody wants to feel seen and heard. But if you've been programmed to be seen and not heard, then maybe you're not using your voice. Maybe you're not saying the things that are on your mind. Maybe you're not speaking your truth. And even today, the card I pulled for the week is talking about standing, not backing down, is what the card said. And I should grab it, but it's away. So I'm gonna walk away from the screen to go get it. But it really talks about standing your ground and being more assertive and knowing that that's okay. So through these 5 days, we really talked about stepping into our new identity, stepping into our future self. And someone pointed out to me that nobody stays awake at night or wakes up in the morning thinking, wow, I need a new identity. And yeah, they're absolutely right. That's probably not what you're thinking. But in fact, it's what's keeping you where you are. Because the identity that you have is the identity that you've cultivated over the years. It could be, you start overly identifying with work and your work becomes your identity. So if you lose your work, then who are you? Your identity should be as a daughter, as a mother, as a wife. So outside of those things, who are you? Who are you as a woman? Who are you as that individual? And is that individual living her most fulfilled life? So, in fact, going through, so the first day we talked about our story. because so many times we feel like maybe something is fundamentally wrong with me, or maybe I'm broken. And nothing could be further from the truth. It's just the stories that you've been given and that you've internalized. It's the stories that you've made up around certain situations, about certain people, um, what that meant to you or what that meant about you when that situation happened. And so we started looking at the old stories and looking at, well, what are the most common stories that I've been telling myself? And through that, we started to detect the pattern. And what we really want is pattern disruption. So once you see the pattern, it's like you can't unsee it. It's like once you ring a bell, you can't unring it. And we get to rewrite the story. And not like you can go back and change the past, because no, you really can't. But at the same time, depending on where those stories came from, as adults, we can stop blaming the circumstance, the situation, or the person and start taking responsibility for how we change that story and what our new story looks like. So we get to step into the identity of the woman who's living the life we want to live. So, what that could mean is you have stories around relationship and lovability. So maybe you never really felt lovable, or maybe there was the person in your life who you felt like should have been the one who taught you what it was like to feel love or to be taken care of. And that person wasn't there or they didn't do it. So consequently, you go through life thinking, well, that person wasn't there for me. Maybe I am not lovable. Maybe, that's why I keep inviting in people who are not aligned with me. Maybe I can start looking at that. Or it could be within your own family dynamics. It could show up in your friend group. So anytime we're talking about relationship, we're not just talking about romantic relationship, but a lot of times that's the relationship that the people I work with want to get into, because not that, and there's nothing wrong with being single. You can be single and happy. In fact, if you are single, you should be single and happy. Okay, maybe I shouldn't shit on you. But being with another person doesn't guarantee your happiness. So finding ways to be fulfilled within yourself and finding your own happy is the most important thing. And so you can start rewriting your story. And if you're feeling unlovable, look for evidence in your life where you felt lovable, where you were loved on, where you felt loved. So we talked about a lot of things along those lines. And then on the second day, we spoke about desire and how desire can actually feel dangerous, because you might be sitting there saying, who am I to want more? Do I even deserve to have the thing or the things that I want? And so we unpack that. And one of our exercises was just to really pull out all the stops and just forget about logic and just start writing down all the things that you desire and to just allow it to flow through you. Don't stop it, don't judge it, just let it flow. And it was a beautiful thing to see a lot of what people came up with. And then day three, we talked about worthiness. because so many women, so many women don't feel worthy of having more, of doing more, of being more. Or again, when we take it back to love, of being loved. Or even something, and I'm not going to say it's simple because a lot of us think about it. Having the beach body, having that summer body. Some people don't even feel like they deserve to have their summer body and to look amazing and to feel amazing. So this can touch every corner of your life where, it could in your health, relationships at work, relationships at work. So we talked about just really understanding that you're worthy, that you came in worthy. So worthy is your baseline. And somewhere along the line, life through situations at you, people said things, they treated you a certain way. And a lot of times it was your caregivers from an early in life who did things and you began to feel like you were unworthy. Or maybe you were even told that you were not worthy of certain things. So given that, you you internalize that sense of unworthiness. And sometimes you don't even recognize it. But even when it comes to a compliment, if you're somebody who can't receive a compliment, that's a worthiness issue. And if you're someone who doesn't feel like they can do things for themselves, but they're always doing things for other people, that's not time. It's not that you don't have time. Sometimes you just feel like you're not worth it. It's more worth it for you to go handle somebody else's stuff or to take care of somebody else or to do something for somebody else rather than to go ahead and do something for yourself. So we talked about our story and we started to rewrite the story. We talked about what we desire and normalize the fact that, yes, we're allowed to have desires. We talked about being worthy and really moving and being worthy of stepping into that person who you want to be, that identity of the person who you want to be, who you're becoming, who the life that you want to live. Then we talked about really starting to integrate that new identity. So we talked about what she did, who she is, the places she goes, how she dresses, how she treats herself. And it was really time to step into that and just want and ask yourself, like, each day, what can I do to be more her? So what are the little things I can do? And something that we talked about was that these things compound. So all the little things compound. And we tend to, well, a lot of high achieving women tend to overthink. And I can jump in that boat. And let me put on my leg preserver because I can overthink the hell out of a lot of stuff. And then I have to research it and then research it some more. And then I fall down the rabbit hole. And it literally is a bitch because all it really does is stop you from taking those small actions to become that woman. And you end up procrastinating. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's just sometimes when you start thinking about it, it just becomes overwhelming. And then you don't want to step into it, or you feel like you can't step into it, or it's like you feel like you're wearing lead shoes. So each and every step is just like really hard. So then you're like, oh, Maybe I just won't do it. And then we talk ourselves out of being that woman, where we have this amazing idea that she put in your head. Or, depending on how you look at it, God put it in your soul, but you talk yourself out of it with the overthinking and the overanalyzing and the constant research. And then you just, it's just too much and you don't do it. So we said, instead of waiting to make this grand gesture and to make this huge decision, that every day we can make smaller decisions that compound, sort of like compound interest. You make a little bit on your money every day, and all of a sudden, poof, you have a lot of money in your account. So it works the same way, and you transform more that way as you're making these incremental changes. And the last day, we talked about taking action and recognizing that taking action takes courage. And sometimes it feels hard. But when you take that first action, then your nervous system's like, okay, well, she didn't die. Maybe we can take another action and another and another. And the actions may get harder, the action itself. However, it gets easier to do because you're building your capacity to hold more. So as you're able to hold more, you can actually do more. And here's the thing, fear and excitement are like two sides of the same coin because they feel the same in the body. So your heart starts to beat really fast. You might get butterflies. You might start to feel like, oh my gosh. But depending on how you look at it, if you look at it as excitement as opposed to fear, then your capacity grows for the excitement and then you can actually move forward. So, like for me, an example of this, fear versus excitement, and then actually flip flopping is when I decided to go skydiving for the very first time. I was so excited to go because I'm like, yes, I'm going to do this and it's going to be so amazing. And I get in, and the person behind the counter is in a wheelchair. And I'm thinking, oh shit, because now I'm making up stories. If there's anything we're good at doing is making up stories. So now I'm making up this story about this person, and they went out of the plane, and the parachute didn't open, and then they fell to the ground, and now they're in a wheelchair. Whole story. I have no idea why that person was in a wheelchair. But that is a story that I chose to make up in that moment, and that brought on my fear. But I was like, no, I drove all the way out here because it was far. I was like, I'm doing this. So I signed up, I signed the waiver, and then they taught us how, when you're in the air, how you should how your body position should be. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all excited again. And we go up in the plane, and I'm excited and I can't wait to do this jump. And then the guy says, come over here because I got to buckle you in. I was like, say what? Because, of course, I was jumping tandem. There's no way I was going to do my first jump alone. And even now, I wouldn't jump alone. I'd still jump tandem. So, because that wanted, well, I can't lie. I wanted the excitement without all the responsibility because he was going to pull the cord. So I went over, I sat there, he buckled me in, and now I am terrified. And I had to tell myself, I was like, no, you're not terrified. You can do this. So I just slowed my breathing down. And then and because I was leaning right against him, I could feel his heart. So, and I could feel his breathing. So I just started to breathe with him. And that calmed me down. And I was like, okay, yep, we're doing this. And I'm excited again. And then we get up and it's my turn. And we walk to the open door. And I had another oh shit moment. Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? It's like, what is wrong with you, woman? And he's like, are you ready? I'm like, no. And then he just kind of push jumped me out of the, out of the plane. And for the first couple of seconds, all I could hear was my own voice echoing in my ears as I was screaming. Because again, I was a little bit terrified. But as we started to go down, and right before we actually opened the parachute, I just got a sense of calm. And then the excitement kicked in again. I was like, wow, I am doing this. I am floating through the sky. It's like, oh my God, I just went through a cloud. Oh my God, there's a bird. Wow, doesn't it look amazing from up here? So now I'm having all the excitement. And honestly, my body felt the same all the way through, except for the moment when I slowed down and I was breathing with my jumper. And then I hit the ground and there is still this sense of exhilaration. So I say that because I like to remember those moments so that when fear is hitting me, I can remember that. And it's like I got through that and I didn't die. And I actually had an amazing time. And I had such an amazing time that I went back a few times, different jump sites. So if we can take courageous action through our fear and turn our fear into excitement, then we've got it down. And we can definitely step into that future self and have the identity of that future self, whoever she is for you. And whatever that looks like, because again, maybe for you it's your first solo trip because you've never traveled by yourself. You know, as a single woman, you may have had this fear that, oh my gosh, no, I can't travel alone. But yes, you can. You can. And guess what? I can help you get there. So if you want to plan a trip, your first solo trip, let me know. I am there for you. And if you would like to work with me to help you be accountable, to hold you the way you hold others, to see into your blind spots so that once you see them, you can't unsee them. And then we can work together to accomplish that thing, whatever it is for you. It's the relationship, it's the travel, it's the promotion. Maybe it's just feeling good about yourself. Maybe it's feeling safe in your body. And I know, again, that's not something that people go to bed thinking about. Oh, I want to wake up and feel safe in my body. You probably don't wake up and think about that, but your nervous system is so dysregulated that if you check in with yourself, you don't feel safe in your body. And you really need somebody to help you to move forward. Because as one of my coaches and mentors would say, you don't become yourself by yourself. And for each step of the way, sometimes you need a different coach, a different person to help you get to the next level. And for you, I could be the person who's going to help you get to that next step, to take you to that next level. So if you're not already doing it, please follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, and definitely Facebook, because if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see the replays because I went live on Facebook. So you can watch the 5 days. And again, they're only 30 minutes each day. And so you can binge them. And the other thing is, I would really love to hear from you. You're single, you're over 40, you're a professional woman. If there was one question that you could have answered and it would change everything, what would it be? Or if there was one thing that would make your life easier or better, what would it be? I really would love to hear from you. So please feel free to send me an email, or actually, it's really easy. Just DM me on my Create Life Your Way site on Instagram, and we can talk because I'd really like to hear from you. And even if you don't want to talk, I would really like to hear from you and just know what would move the needle for you. Anyway, it's been great talking to you, and I'll talk to you again next week. All right. Bye.